Not about that.
Okay, so we can let's move on to I guess similar topic. Well, not similar at all actually. One of the topics that we agreed to cover was steroid use. So we go from concussion into enhancements.
They are actually very, very much affected by each other, I feel like.
The harder you hit,
Yeah, exactly. No, but
honestly, I haven't been exposed to too much experiences with steroid use out there, at least in the sports world. I've been primarily with D3 athletes for the most part, and one of the nicest thing about, in my opinion, working with D3 athletes is they don't have not necessarily, I don't want to say they don't have the drive, but they don't have the ego that D1 athletes would have during that time period. They all have a genuine love for the sport and love to compete at the D3 level. And you just see them they just want to play.
Yeah.
They just have that love to play right there. So I haven't really come across a lot of athletes that would be necessarily finagled into, I'm going to get jacked up on this steroids and I'm going to win and I'm going to beat everybody and all that stuff. No, most of my D3 athletes that I've come in contact with, they've all been working very hard, but they've all just wanted to just compete and just be the best person that they can possibly be naturally. I think that whole steroid ruse, at least when it comes to sports and competition, I don't think it's terrible. You're obviously doing something, any performance enhancing drugs, whether it be blood doping, steroid use, or anything like that. I think that is a terrible thing to do, to try to just one up somebody else. If you can't get it the normal way, the hard way of just grinding it out day in, day out, just trying to work on your technique as much as you possibly can, then what are you doing this for, man? Like, why be there?
So are both of you guys... Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
So I agree, but up to a point, and it's just maybe I guess I've had a little different of an experience.
Yeah.
I look of it as not necessarily while they're developing their skills and they're getting there. I see more of the steroid or PED usage after they get a severe injury. And that's what I've noticed a little bit more over the years. And at the end of the day, if you really think about it, like they do work. They do make your skills get better faster. So they're...
Because you can go to the gym more, you can train more.
Exactly. And you don't feel the pains, or you don't, necessarily feel the weaknesses. And I keep going back to the mental state. It's for me, for my career, it's been a cornerstone of how I've done my job. Is I focus heavily on the mental on a lot of things. And as an athlete at any level, if you're a serious athlete at any level, even, your weekend warrior, you always want to be better, and you don't want to think this is the reason, like, my knee is the reason why it's holding me back. If your knee is bothering you, well, you may take something that alleviates the pain, and now you could play at the level that you think you should be playing at, or you think you should be playing above, so now you chase that. And it's always that ladder game that you're playing. It was like, well, now my knees bother me, let me take something to fix that. Well, now I'm not playing to where I should be, so let me take this so I could get to that level. And then, well, he's a little bit better now, I got to go get him and whatnot.
Yeah, there's definitely that especially after an injury, you're constantly trying to find a way to get right back into it. And part of our jobs, obviously, as athletic trainers, is to make sure that we are that bridge to make sure that they get to that next point right there, whether it be taping or modalities or anything like that. Obviously, naturally, to get them back into the playing field right there. But speaking as a current athlete, I just couldn't picture myself just taking a drug to just kind of cheat the competition right there. But that's
commendable.
That's just me personally.
Not everyone has that mindset.
I guess not.
Yeah.
So both you guys would be opposed to essentially using any kind of performance enhancing drugs? Or do you think it's something that should...
I gotta say, I don't like using Advil unless I absolutely have to.
I agree.
And that's really just because of the fact that it's not a foreign body. I mean, most things are drug, like caffeine can be considered a drug. Let's be honest.
Absolutely.
Here.
I mean, any substance that you take to change your mood, to change your affect is a drug.
This is my drug.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sparkling water.
This is my drug.
But I just try to mitigate that as much as possible. If I can just do something as naturally as I possibly can, I think that that's probably better for my body in the long run.
Absolutely.
I'm not putting a tax on my body one way or the other. I'm just trying to add enough stimulus to it to get me to the next level as best as I possibly can. And that's true for training as well as recovery. So make sure that for a lot of athletes out there, they don't do recovery all that well.
No, not
they
at all.
don't do the foam
thing.
rolling. They don't do the stretching. They don't do the ice that they need to do. They don't need. They don't think that they have to do that. They're looking for, unfortunately, that pill to get them to that next level right there. Exactly.
It's easy.
So, I mean, I might be harping on this just a little bit here, but if you're not willing to do that grind right there, I don't see why you're in the competition to begin with.
I agree with that, but I do see that side of, wow, this is so much easier than, my 30 minutes at the end of a hard workout or a hard game of my recovery of, my mobility work to my foam rolling work to, the cryotherapy or any kind of therapy that could take a lot of time. Yeah. And it can be taxing on a person. And, you could come off of a big win and all you want to do is go out and celebrate. But, especially like, let's say basketball or baseball where there's games every couple days, you have a big win and you're like, all right, I want to go out with my buddies and enjoy this. But I know I'm going to be competing in a day. So I have to do my recovery work. And now that excitement of that big win is gone. So I understand why some people do it because they just feel like this is quick. Let me, get better. I can compete. And what harm is this really doing to me because I'm winning? So in their mindset, I'm winning, so there's no harm. They don't think about the negative effects it's having inside their body, inside their head, and what it could be doing to other people because all they think about is, that scoreboard, my team's up by 1.
And then there's the other question of what type of sports would you really want to limit that on too? Because, I mean, if you look at, say, combat sports, for example, if I'm doing a performance-enhancing drug, then I'm trying to one-up somebody here, and it's already a sport where I'm trying to cause physical harm to another human being if it's a combat sport. And now I'm, God forbid, juiced up on something. Yeah. I'm the friggin' Hulk all of a sudden.
Now you don't have an off switch.
Exactly. And we saw it with Vitor Belfort versus Mike Bisping. He's never going to look out of his right eye the same way again, unfortunately, after that fight. And that was after TRT with Vitor Belfort, proven and what have you. So, I mean, that's horrible. But then you look at a contact sport, say like hockey or football, and you've got these huge hulking guys, and they're coming to just cream you every single Sunday. Yeah. Yes. And that's terrible. But then you look at a sport like, say, soccer, where you're not really supposed to maybe level into somebody, or even like, let's say, competitive biking, for example. And from what I've heard, that is a shark pit right there of just people just trying to just one up on each other every single day.
Trying to positioning.
Exactly. So, I mean, if we, in my opinion, if you're doing a performance-enhancing drug and you're in a competition that says you shouldn't be doing a performance-enhancing drug, then you shouldn't be doing it, period. But a lot of people think to themselves, I'm not hurting anybody in this. But, I mean, if you're really looking at it, you're taking away from your other competitors, you're taking away their livelihood. And worse yet, if you're dealing with sports that are much more physical, like football, like hockey, like combat sports like kickboxing and MMA, and even Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for that matter, you're taking a huge toll out of that person possibly.
So I wanted to, let me ask you guys this question just to play a little devil's advocate here. So, a lot of people would counter an argument and say, well, you guys, it's only considered cheating because everybody isn't allowed to do it. Okay. So the counter argument is why not just legalize steroids and let every athlete who wants to use it? So that way it is a level
Has
playing
there been
field.
testing done to actually show that it's healthy for the body in the long run?
Well, the issue right now, that's actually the huge problem, is because if you look at steroids, I mean, this is a miracle drug.
Yeah.
As you said, Jeff, a lot of this stuff works. Like you can recover if an athlete has an injury, you recover from it within weeks instead of within months. And so instead of looking at this and saying, oh my God, here's these substances that we can, that is a miracle drug. Let's study it. Let's actually put it to the test, see what are the pros and the cons. And maybe we can develop something that won't have the cons. But instead of doing that, we just say, no, legalize it because it's cheating and it's bad. And so,
and you make it clean and,
why not make it clean? Why not? Because I mean, sports is about competition, right? It's being at the top of your game. And if you think about it,
but there's always a gentleman's agreement when it comes to sports.
And
do you think that a gentleman's agreement includes not taking performance enhancing drugs?
Yes. If that is set in the rules that you have.
So what people are saying is that what if we took that off the table and just said, if you want to use performance enhancing drugs, you can use it. If you don't want to, that's up to you. That's your call.
I think that's a great question. I think that a lot of the mitigating things to that, though, is whether or not is this good for those athletes in the long run. However,
that's a problem, right? Because again, we illegalize it, so we have no idea.
Now, if I could throw a twist in this, because we're all talking about competitors here,
right?
And at one point, we all were competitors here, and I could say for myself that I would never have done any of that stuff because, in my mindset, I have that competitive mentality, and if the only way I could beat somebody is with this, then I don't think I'm actually doing it.
Right.
But here's my twist is, at the professional level, that competitive edge is still there, obviously, but also that financial edge is there. And some of these guys and females are looking at it as, well, I need this paycheck because I'm used to this lifestyle that I'm living. And the only way for me to get this paycheck is by taking these performance-enhancing drugs. And they're not thinking as a competitor anymore. They're thinking of financially, I need this because I need to pay for X, Y, and Z.
Got to pay for the mortgage, man.
Exactly.
But is there anything? What is there anything wrong with that though? Like, what is wrong with that? What is bad about
to fight for it as best you can? Like I said, like you said as well. If this is the gentleman's agreement, if this is the rule set down, that you can do this and I can do this, and this is the only things that we're allowed to do, and we have to now compete based off of that.
Yeah.
Then yes, it's completely wrong for them to do that right now. If USADA or WADA say, "Oh, we're taking everything off the table now, and you guys can use whatever you want to," which guys, it's not going to happen. But
it would be against their financial interests because they would dissolve as as an organization.
It's true.
Absolutely.
But once again, these are organizations that are also looking at not only the health of. They're looking at the health of the competitors. And the longevity. And the longevity of the competitors. Yeah. So in terms of steroids, I think that most likely somebody's going to figure out a way to make it so it doesn't have the bad side effects. Eventually, I think science can probably catch up to that eventually.
Absolutely.
But if you look at something like EOPs, for example, where basically their blood is so thick that when you bring it out of their body, it's like Jell-O just hanging out there.
Yeah.
The risk of that for that individual, I don't know if that's ever going to change for that thickening of blood right there. So why do that to your body in the long run?
I think that kind of, it's a philosophical question, right? Because you could ask that to any athlete. It's like, why are you boxers? Like, why do you keep boxing?
Why are you getting punched?
You can say that about, why are you getting punched in the head for what? Why would you participate in the sport?
For my boss, man.
But
so
and it's also, I guess, just because of what we do for a living, we always advocate for the health of the athlete. And if you take away that brain and that mindset of health of the athlete, and you just, bring back that competitor mindset of do what you need to win, it's that like the little angel and devil on your shoulder of who has the bigger voice. And right now it's the healthcare guy. It's the guy that wants to see you, an athlete from high school go to college, and possibly
even go pro.
go pro. That's my mindset is I want to see this athlete get to the next level without having issues that stem from them, you know. And people think, oh, only steroids and stuff happen at the adult level and stuff. No, it happens at the younger level, and kids could get their hands on things that we never thought they could get their hands on. And
So true.
And a lot of times it's not, you know, your typical like, oh, I'm taking steroids. You know, it could be a number of other drugs that they take to enhance their game. Even one thing that's completely legal and kids could buy it, but it does affect how you play is like pre-workouts. That affects how they play on a field. I've witnessed it where, you know, a kid takes some pre-workout, is all jacked up with all this energy that they never had before. And then all of a sudden, you know, halfway through the game, they're crashing because all this energy is depleted. They're cramping up. And now I have to figure out what's wrong with you. And it's just because you took in so much caffeine and so much sugar and salt and whatever. Now we're just affected.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. You know, that's why it's such, I don't know, to me, it's such a gray area because like you said, you have all these things that are legal that we take anyway to change our mood, to change our energy levels. Yeah. And so it's like, to me, it's like, why not just take it a step further? And like, this is like steroids we know can actually have actual physical effects that are positive, that are net positives. Yeah. And so what I'm saying is that like, why not study it? Why not legalize it? Study it, especially for somebody who's not in competitive level. Yeah. Dude, if you can take something that can get you shredded in 3 to 4 months, help you lose 40, 50 pounds, get you healthier,
get you off of diabetes medicine,
get you off diabetic medicine.
Well, that's
like, why not, you know, go after it?
Though they're not actually tested by the FDA.
Well, I get, that's the problem. So that's a huge problem.
As well.
Supplements are not part of the FDA. You can market a sugar water and tell everybody that's going to help you lose 60 pounds. Yeah. So, I don't know. It is definitely an interesting topic. I mean, I don't remember who it was. I think it might have been Arnold Schwarzenegger. Because, you know, he's a big steroid user.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
And he basically said like, look, you know, just because you take steroids doesn't mean you're going to become me. No. It doesn't mean you're going to become Barry Bonds. It doesn't mean you're going to become Lance Armstrong. Like those guys still had to grind. They still had to put the work in. The timing required, the skill required to hit a baseball going 95 miles per hour. That in and of itself is a talent. Yeah. And so what people are saying is like, look at these athletes, the human achievement they achieved because they took steroids, the things they were able to do. Like, look how amazing it is. And instead of saying, hey, you know, why are we illegalizing these things? Why are we making these people, why are we ostracizing them and saying like, you're bad? When if you look at it from a philosophical level, I think you can make an argument that
absolutely,
you know, this could be make a superhuman. This is the next level of being human. This is how you level up. And we use technology all the time. Our coffee, the coffee that you drink, the caffeine that you drink every day to get you up in the morning. Yeah. And so,
you know, I'm the first one to tell you, if I don't have my cup of coffee in the morning, don't talk to me. But and if you really think about like in the broad picture, I guess that would be a performance enhancing for me. Because, you know, I wake up in the morning, I have my cup of coffee, and all right, now I'm ready to go. If I don't, I feel sluggish all day.
But couldn't we all agree that there's serious side effects for most drugs?
Every drug. Yeah,
absolutely.
Every drug.
Anything abused could have a negative side effect.
Yeah. Right.
But I guess it's a good thing that I'm sitting in the middle right now because I could kind of see both sides of it. And I guess I'm the one that's like, you know, feathering the line a little bit. But just because of my background, I do feel that, you know, taking a performance enhancing drug is whatever record you will get, you need to have an asterisk then next to it because then it's not totally you. Am I going to tell you that, you know, people that like Barry Bonds and everything with all the home runs he hit and, you know, all these great baseball players that, especially like from the 80s that, you know, took all these amphetamines and everything. Were they not great baseball players?
Yeah. I mean, they saved Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa saved baseball.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, we found out they took steroids and all of a sudden they were terrible human beings. And it was like, but they saved baseball.
But yeah, like, and I'm a diehard Mets fan and everything. And
my parents are so happy you said that right now, Jeff.
I got you. But the 80s and the Mets, like, it's a known thing that these guys were using amphetamines. And a couple years ago, I went to a talk with Doc Gooden and Darryl Strawberry. And
interesting.
Yeah, and they told us right there. They're like, yeah, we had a bucket of what they called greenies, which was the amphetamines, on the table. And they said, if you weren't taking them, you were actually hurting the team because you didn't want to do everything you can. And he goes, man, I'm telling you, you see a fastball coming in on amphetamine, it looks like a beach ball's floating at you. And that was something that Darryl Strawberry said. And you sit there and you're like, wow, you're a great baseball player. You have some of the most amazing statistics out there. And you're saying the only reason why you did this was because you're on some, and the only reason why you did it was because everybody was using.
Yeah.
So is it like, you follow the herd, or do you go your own way and never reach that level?
So then another philosophical question would be then, is it a matter of ethics / honor at that point for the athletes as well? Is that why we're putting down all these harsh laws and regulations on
I think a lot of it has to do. I think it has to do with the media. I think the media wants there to be the bad guy. It's like people like to watch somebody fall.
Yeah, you need a villain.
That's the best kind of story you can have. It's like somebody who's a hero who turned into a villain.
What was it in The Dark Knight?
You either die hero or live long enough to become the villain.
Yeah, that's basically what they said. So.
Well, I mean, to wrap up this topic, getting back to, for example, Vitor Belfort, which you mentioned, who's TRT, and I feel like because of things like that, which are legal. Chael Sonnen is another fighter who does TRT. Mm-hmm. It's almost as if like...
Does he still do it now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I think he'd been taking it. A lot of these MMA fighters, they've been taking it since they were like teenagers. Yeah. Chael, I think, started in his 20s. And so his testosterone level was so inflated that his body naturally just stopped producing it. Yeah. And so now, in order to even have it, he has to take it. Yeah. And so what I'm saying is that because of this situation, it's almost as if like it's who can cheat without it being called cheating. Do you know what I mean?
Who could thread that line the best?
And who can cycle the best?
So
yeah, absolutely.
And it's not fair to why. So what I'm saying is like, why not just make it just legal then? Just
have everybody do it. But
because then you have this problem now where
because then you don't have to worry about people getting sick from bad batches. I guess you could actually, what's the word? Like you could control what your batches are and what
once you regulate it, and that way you can actually tell people, like, you can actually have studies. You can say, listen, we're banning this substance because these are negative side effects and we don't want our athletes to suffer this when they're in their 40s, to have heart attacks when they're 45. Instead of like just saying, oh, legalize it, it's cheating,
it's bad for everybody.
And I mean I think, to answer your question, Ibby, I think that is why we look at that, because the media said, oh, they're steroid users. Steroids are bad people. But yet we hail heroes like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. I mean, he was caught, he's a huge human growth hormone user.
My biggest hero growing up as a kid, Bruce Lee. Known steroid user, though.
Bruce Lee? Oh, no. Don't say that. I did not know that.
When I found out that, it almost broke my heart.
My heart is broken right now. I had no idea. I thought he was natural.
But he became a master from his own skill set.
Oh my God, no. Is that confirmed?
Confirmed.
Oh,
Chuck Norris said that I think that steroids had something to do with his death, actually. That's what Chuck Norris said.
Wow.
I was like, whoa. But the funny part about this, after reading that and after understanding, and honestly, if you look at him at Return of the Dragon and then see him at Enter the Dragon, he got bigger. Cut up, shredded so much more between one movie to the other movie, and it was directly after he had a huge back injury at the time too. When you think about it, and it makes a lot of sense to me, he was a person who was trying to find the best out of himself, the best out of everybody. Absolutely. So he was trying to be the best that he could possibly be, and during that time period, there was no science out on steroid use whatsoever. So he was like, oh, I see this person doing it. I see this person doing it. It seems to have good effect. Let me try it really quick. And it seemed to work very well for him at the time. But his knowledge, his ability to convey spiritual and philosophical knowledge to the major public, I think cannot be negated by him taking steroids whatsoever. Same thing with his martial knowledge as well. The things that he was able to do on camera, the things that he was able to express through his martial knowledge was just something beautiful to behold. And I think that he's forever and ever going to be an inspiration for martial artists for years to come.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that goes off what you said before with you still have to be skilled.
Yeah. So
I mean, he was charismatic. He was a great actor. He was,
you still have to have the skill. You still have to have the personality and the wherewithal to do whatever activity you want this steroid to, enhance.
Yeah.
You can't just get your average Joe Schmo and be like, hey, I'm going to throw a 105 mile per hour fastball at you and go hit it.
Yeah.
You're not going to touch it.
Right.
It doesn't matter how much stories you
you're not even
juiced
gonna
up you
see
are,
it.
how yoked you are. It doesn't matter.
So this is an interesting